Hello. History friends, it was on Teutonic today, this business, because I want to try it out. I apologize if I sound a little bit congested today, because I am. But I've got a keep on schedule I have for myself, so I don't forget, basically. At night I like streaming, I like posting videos, I like doing all that stuff. Except for editing. Editing gets annoying, but it's no real big deal. I do like that you can actually spawn in this area, because this is a nice area for questing small stuff. More flowers, and then we're good for this quest. This is one of the only places that I don't mind doing the Gifts from the Sea quest, because if you go right to the coast, which is right here basically, you can get it done pretty easily. Because there are a very good amount of turtle shells there, which is the only thing that really makes this quest annoying to begin with. Right now I'm using Speed Amarga, but I'll definitely be switching it to probably Attack Amarga later. I made this Amarga a while ago. And I used to play almost exclusively Speed Amarga. Okay, more turtle shows off this way. We're getting there. This one over there, that's kind of far. I think I can just loop back. I'll probably find one. I don't remember the exact growth times for a lot of the stuff on this server, but I know that this server does have passive growth, and Amarga shouldn't be too long. Okay, yeah. Right up here there's the last of the shells and the last turtle shell that I need. And bones. Bones aren't that hard to find in this area. I don't remember exactly where they are on this particular version of the map, because on the old one they were pretty easy to find. This one they added a bunch of rocks up there. And they moved stuff around a little bit. I don't think they're too far from where they were originally. Yep, there they are. Now to find one more set of bones. First, I'm gonna get some water. I know that I can unlock the tail attack now. Unfortunately for me, I can't just, immediately rest and put on my attacks on the server because they have home caves enabled, which means you have to go to the home cave to enable your abilities. So, in that way, it's kind of artificial, but I don't know, it just kind of makes things tedious in my opinion, but the server's mostly nice, it seems. Let's see. Any more bones that I can see? I don't see any yet. Let's see if I can spot any like this. Ah, yes, I can. Good. Good, very good. Just keep on questing. Get marks, get growth. Do all that lovely stuff. Are there enough rocks here to complete the quest? Yeah. Even if this isn't enough, there's another couple piles. Good. This pile is mostly clipped into the ground. Or not, because it was partly collected from, I guess. Okay. So I go back around and look at the rocks. Now I can feel how crackly my voice is this morning. That's wild that it's that crackly. Right, back up we go. Right over here, the rocks. Yep. And now we go back to the beach for a second to get the branches, because it's the easiest place to find them. It should be all good. Another one that happens, am I gonna go to a home cave? Maybe. I should go to a home cave as soon as I get this quest done, just so that I can actually defend myself. Because Amargasaurus spawns with no attacks to this day. It's a weird bug. Up there from this branch pile is really weird. A weird hitbox. I need, I think, 3 branch piles. But 4. It's 6 per. And there we go. Front to the stick it. That is basically where I'm going. It's this whole area, so just going up there anyway to get to the home cave, because that's the closest one. I can put on my 2 attacks, and I can run around and do my quests. Just up this cliff over here, I think. Yep. Okay, I can go around this big rock and then get off the cliff over here. I will say, Amarg's biggest upside is definitely that it has a ton of stamina. You can run for a long time and just not really be bothered, which is nice. Can I get up here? I should be able to. Might be a little bit too vertical for me to get up that. Aha, I did get up. Nice. Do a little bit of weirdness with the jump, but it worked. Quest completion sound's gonna play in a minute. Yep. Right now I gotta run around the way to the home cave. I'm not sure if anyone will really be here, because at this point most people just go to Crater and what's it called? And Grand Plains on this map, which are on the other side of the map. There's something flying. Hopefully it's just a foul and not a Quetz, but it probably is a Quetz. Semi-Realism so small it's pretty dangerous to me. Really, I can't get over that log, huh? We gotta keep going around the lake. Just gotta keep making progress. I gotta go all the way around. I really, like there, to have gone all the way up here. I probably would have been quicker to go around that way at this point, but I didn't want to have to swim and I thought that I was much closer to this side. It's not too much farther back to the home cave, at least. And almost. Just gotta wait for stamina a little bit. I'm gonna start collecting some of the pine cones. Because that way I won't have to look around for as many pine cone piles when I leave the home cave. Gotta go up. There's something over there. There's something right here too. And I hear a Meg. Into the home tube we go. I was gonna say, Margo only has one diet, right? Sadly, you can't regenerate stamina in home caves anymore. They did that because people were using home caves just to heal their health for free, but it makes it kind of annoying that you can't regenerate any stat. Just gotta trot now to get some stamina back. Yeah, I can just sit for a second. Not that big a deal. With that stamina, then we're gonna go complete the quest. And then we'll see from there. One thing I do still wish that you should do in this game is if you have a buffer ID buff on your hotbar, like that home cave, like no attaching thing that just came up, you could hover over it and see what it is. It's a small flats. I don't know if that's small. It could be full blown. Just I can duck into these little caves and hide. Nope, caps. Got it. Something's been through here collecting all the flowers. I need a lot more flowers than I have right now. This will be 14 from this. 19 over here. I need this, another full thing of flowers, and then one extra. Come on, Amarga. I know your legs are stubby, but they aren't that stubby. Still got these flowers. So now I just need 4 more. There we are. Now we got lakeweed. You're really gonna go for me, huh? God damn, Amargasaurus boxes are so bad. Like, my tail's going through its head and it's not hitting half the time. How many times did I hit you in the face for you to give up? And how do you still have stamina? Damn reflection every time. It's still here, huh? Oh, I am stuck in its hitbox. Go away, you little gremlin. Damn it, Amarga, why does your head have to be such a wonky hitbox? Collect the goddamn items. Okay, you can bother with that one. It's gonna be too tedious trying to get one. There's the small dialogue. Not that small of a dialogue, but it's still pretty small because it's got its baby strings still. I don't like that it's generic common because it should be common for others. This is very irritating to collect as Amarga because Amarga's collection thing is below its face for some reason. Which means that you have to have your head elevated to collect stuff. There we are. Just need a mantia, which are the red mushrooms. They go away, little gremlin. Just need to find some mantia. Shouldn't be this difficult. Here's some right here. There we go. Alright. One more full thing of mantia and 2 extras. Oh, good. Almost adolescent now too, which is good. But I don't remember. I need more than just those for the class. Or something, since it gets galloping, so I guess it's a stego maybe? Right. There we go. Okay, how much is this skin? 7,000 Gs. It's the skin that I like though. Guess I'm gonna go to Snake Valley now, which is just north of here. Or maybe not. We'll see. Really, I can't fit through that, huh? Well, I guess I was right, it was a stego. Because I just heard it fall and take damage and break its leg. Again? Didn't hear it die at least, but they fell twice, and I heard the bone snap twice. Yeah, I'm just not gonna risk the, what's it called? We're going break. I'm just gonna go back around. I know there are better ways. There's a safer spot, basically right over here. Gotta trot for a minute to get some stamina back. After hearing that stereo phone breaks like twice, I'm surprised that it's still alive. That's a weird noise. That's a metry. I heard claw. Yeah, I can't get down over there. Just trying to see. I can hear something, but I don't see it. Yeah, I can just sneak down right here. At this size, I don't think I could take on a metry, but I definitely give a pretty good amount of damage. The metry can't get extra bleed resistance. And Amarga has quite a bit of bleed. I'm not even gonna bother trying to go up there, I'm just gonna go around. Using with my really bad sense of direction to completely lose where I'm going, basically. Maybe not for me to lose it, but mess it up. It's a small Utah. A full ground Utah would probably destroy me because their pounce does so much damage. Just hoping that I don't get the flower delivery quest in Snake Valley immediately. So I can do at least one quest in Snake Valley before I have to move on. Because that flower delivery quest is a death trap. It's a death trap because you have to cross the river 10 times in total because you have to bring 5 flowers from the other side of the river and then go back. I'm gonna try and trot for a minute to get some stamina. That's an aloe. Still hear a stego. That's a little, what's a smaller aloe? Pretty good, it's just general collection. Okay. Just watching that ridge behind me. That's where I heard the owl. I feel like they were right at the home cave. I do know that instead of completing this quest right here, I could take one of the mushrooms and leave the area, then complete the quest and move on, but because of what I want to see if I get lucky and get another quest. If I did. Because now I can do the tiger nut quest instead of remembering about the water. I do know that there's a bunch of tiger nuts up this hill. There's something. Yeah, I didn't hear anything, it's just my footsteps sounding weird, but who knows. Okay, here's more tiger nuts. And I will grab the last tiger nut I need and move out of the area with it. If I can find any more. And not be blind. I'll say this lighting, kind of annoying. The dark spots it's very dark, and the light spots it's very bright. That and off the run. So there's a waterfall right here that I can use to cross right over into Rainbow Hills. Okay, let's yoink. Roots. There's a really good questing spot in Rainbow Hills. Kind of up in this area, I think. Amargasaurus seems to shed out of its baby skin really quickly. You can already see some of the stripes on the shoulders, ribs, and on the tail especially. I think some of the spikes are starting to become a little bit more orangey, but it's very hard to see in this light. Reminds me, I did something pretty interesting yesterday in a fight. So how I was getting stuck on this rock there. I was playing on a deathmatch server as a DAS Valpa, and I ended up getting someone stuck on me because they were trying to turn around to bite my tail because I wasn't using tail attack. But I put my head like, right on them, and I like held W, held the precise movement button, just default like X on PC, and held the two strafe buttons, which are A and D, and they got stuck, so they couldn't quite turn around me, and they didn't try and get away from me, so I ended up just taking the damage. They just ended up tanking all the DAS damage, went down. Honestly, DAS got really good in the combat update because they increased its movement speed, even though they removed its tap bone break. Having such a heavy damage hit is really nice. DAS also got some other buff, I don't remember what. And then, of course, its normal bite. The only thing that I don't like about the changes at all is that they decreased the attack speed on its normal attack from half a second to a full, like, a second and a half basically on its normal bite. So DAS can't just bone break, Tyrant's Roar, bone break, and then bite spam something to death anymore. It's quite sad. It basically transferred DAS from an ambusher into a hit and runner, or a hit and runner that likes to ambush things. It's a little harder to get the bone break because the charge bite is a lot easier to react to than rushing bite, which has been swapped out for damage now. Saying that, I do think DAS is way more fun now than it was before. And funny enough, defense DAS is quite good. Because defense DAS is almost as fast as balanced allo, and can give balanced allo a pretty good run for its money. Just because it does so much raw damage. Okay, I got adolescent knives. I can get the stomp, get resilient. There's something. Guess that is me walking. I think it was just me walking. There's food right here. I can unlock these two abilities before I forget. I have the marks from, and they're both decently useful. Stomp isn't the best right now, but it still has uses. I can put on Resilient whenever I go back to the home page. Then of course the other ability here in Senses is One Survivor, which is 700 marks I believe. One Survivor is a very good ability. 10% turn radius increase, 10% additional armor when you're not in a group. Right now there's only 3 things that have One Survivor. It's Amarga, Anno, and Paki, but Kentro's getting actually there's I don't know if Shruti and Kento have it right now, I don't think they do. Yeah, they definitely don't, but both of them and Kentra are getting it on the PTB, which is cool. So one more bloodstone. Right, here we go. Oh, way in the middle of nowhere in this, on the Rainbow Hills. Okay, succulents, which are cacti and other succulents. Those deities would be very easy, but nights so they're a little bit trickier. It's just it's hard to see. You ever just say things and then right after you say them or as you're saying them you realize, wow, I talk in an interesting way. Because I just thought to myself, oh, I talk with a very lazy tongue. Or I just, you know, don't fully form some words. Like, instead of saying because, I just say because and all that stuff. Spawn corpse, I didn't even know there was one here. Way in the middle of nowhere. You're getting stuck on rocks. Amarga has got stubby legs. And I'm not paying attention to move around them as easy. Try this. Where am I? I'm off here. Here are some succulents. Alright. Two more. It is enough here. I don't think there's any more quests than these three right here. Yeah, I figured. Time to go across the river then. Oh wow. The only things really left from the baby's skin at this point are the white spots. It's kind of crazy. I'm barely into adolescent is this Amarga. Oh wow. This thing shows up its baby skin fast. As you got some things like Meg, where halfway through subadult Meg still has traces of its baby skin. I'm just trying to find an easy way to get up. Because this area was slightly changed. There should be a crossing right over here somewhere. They did add a lot more waterfalls and rocks to this section of the river for some reason. You really gotta go right out into the ocean. Like actively though. Yeah, I remember that the water here is very deep, so I could just drop down into it. Gotta worry of hitting the bottom. Alright, I can potentially get double root quests done here. I can find the roots fast enough. And if I don't get stuck on every rock on the way there. Okay, there's some roots. There are enough here to get this quest done. Or if you can collect faster than I know you can. You just did with succulents, so why is it taking me so long for these? And right over here is the last roots that I need. Just gonna get some stamina real quick. There's a couple reasons that most of the players on the map tend to gravitate toward Grand Plains and Impact Crater. And that's because, one, the water in Impact Crater is especially shallow, which makes it harder for semi-aquatics to ambush people. Two, the whole area is very open with not a lot of coverage overall, which makes it much easier to see things coming. Which makes it much easier to react. And the other thing is that's where most people are gravitating, so more people are bound to fall off. It's kind of like the real world with nomadic hunters. Nomadic predators will follow the migrating herds all the way around. The nomadic big predators are actually quite rare in the modern world. Because you got things like lions, wolves, even tigers that all hold a territory. I think the closest thing would be a bear, because bears are very migratory, but bears are also not primarily carnivores. They just can and will eat meat. Even most crocodilians are, what's it called? Are territorial instead of nomadic. The most nomadic crocodilian, I think, is actually the saltwater croc, and that's because they, well, especially young males, will often just swim out into the ocean and then outed from a territory. Turn in my predators, let's see. Can't really think of one off the top of my head. Aside from maybe some larger bird species. Something like some species of hawk. Nation class things like storks, herons, all them as kind of more nomadic. Even if migration in general isn't all that common in the animal world, because most things are geographically isolated. You got things like caribou, that are definitely very nomadic. They migrate a lot. Deer are definitely nomadic as well. Funny enough, wild boar are very nomadic. Wild boars spread through a good chunk of the US from when they were introduced, basically on accident. Then you also have, here's a good example of something that's migratory. It's a predator. Fish. Many species of fish are migratory, because they have to be. And for a freshwater fish, one of the weirdest ones is the snakehead. Just snakeheads are, well, they range from probably like 3 inches to like 4 feet, I think, depending on the species. And snakeheads are a fish that have partial lungs, so they can survive on land for a while. And they migrated way up from, they were actually introduced into, I believe, the southeast US, and they migrated way out. It's wild. I don't know. It's weird that they migrated like that. But that is an example of a migratory predator, snakehead. Sharks are definitely migratory too. Tuna. All whales are also migratory. And yeah, technically you can consider whales as predators because whales eat krill, shrimp, and small fish usually. Or squid. And then the toothed whales and the dolphins, which are sperm whales, orcas, all the dolphins, obviously. They all eat fish and squid, among other things. And Killer whales especially will eat a lot of different stuff. Killer whales, orcas, whatever you want to call them. There's many names for them. Where's the collection area over here? Right here, okay. Yeah, Amargasaurus right here. We obviously don't know much about its behavior because we have one skeleton, but it's very likely that, like most large mammals today, sauropods in general were probably migratory to an extent. And we know for a fact that hadrosaurs were overall migratory. I think dinosaurs overall are. I think most herbivorous dinosaurs overall were much more migratory than I think. Oh. What? Rothropala, thank you for following. Sorry, sometimes I have a hard time reading names. Yeah. I talk about all kinds of random stuff when I play this game, because it just reminds me of things, and it's pretty chill. Now I lost my train of thought. Migration. We're not entirely sure how migratory all herbivorous dinosaurs were, but we do know for the fact that many species of hadrosaur, especially North American ones like Amargasaurus, Lambeosaurus, and Montosaurus especially, they all migrated along the coasts, and they would go north-south kind of deals. Then you have sauropods that were also likely very migratory too, because they have a lot of food intake. Which ones are less migratory? Ankylosaurs are very likely less migratory, although Nodosaurus, which are the plugless ankylosaurs like Borealopelta, Sauropelta, Edmontonia, they all evolved in North America to start out with, and there were a couple of them in Europe as well. We do know that ankylosaurs, the ones with the big tail clubs, they evolved in Asia to start out, but they migrated to North America. And nodosaurids, actually, we know nodosaurids ended up in South America. And a lot of the older ankylosaurs, which are in their own grouping, ankylosaurs like Minmi, Amargasaurus, and Stegosaurus, they're from Gondwana, which is South America, Africa, Antarctica, and Australia. And even though they're a lot rarer, it's interesting because Stegosaurus especially is a very young ankylosaur for its group, because they are primitive, which means that they are older evolutionarily. So their group stayed around even after it had split before into nodosaurs and ankylosaurs, and they ended up basically living through actually the Jurassic extinction, which is impressive. And Stegosaurus itself lived at the same time and places Gigantosaurus in the Chendalarus Formation of Patagonia, which is surprising considering Stegosaurus is about 3 feet long. Not 3 feet, it's maybe 3 feet, maybe a little bit bigger, but Stegosaurus was not very big. Stegosaurus has basically a sawtooth tail, is what you'd call it. It's got big spiky ossicles all along its tail. It's interesting because Stegosaurus is super small but has that feature, which would definitely have been helpful in self-defense, but was probably more of a display. Which is very cool. And it's also quite possible that even older Ankylosaurians, like Minmi and Amargasaurus from Australia, had something similar, because Minmi, despite how semi-popular it is, it's not very complete as an animal. Whereas Amargasaurus, which is the other Australian ankylosaur, is very complete. We have, actually, I think an almost complete skull and most of the body, even having well-preserved stomach content, so we got what it ate. But we don't have the tail. At least not much of the tail. It's very interesting, because as we discover more of these, like, missing links or relics in the fossil record, we're learning basically how these animals evolved and a bunch of other interesting things about them. As a whole, many groups of dinosaurs are very mysterious in terms of where they came from. The Spinosaurs are a great example of this because we are pretty sure that they evolved from megalosaurs, which would be Megalosaurus, Torvosaurus, which is mostly a European group, aside from Torvosaurus, obviously, which is still in Europe. But Spinosaurs evolved probably sometime in the mid or late Jurassic period, but we don't have any real fossils of them from that time period. We don't even have teeth from them, which is surprising, because if you know anything about Spinosaurids and their fossils, Spinosaurid teeth in localities, especially in Egypt, are super common. This is still area complete, okay. But yeah. It's surprising that we haven't found any Spinosaurid teeth. The only thing that was even close was named Osteophocosaurus. It was from Tanzania, and I'm pretty certain that it's now classified as a ceratosaur, and not a Spinosaur. But they just suddenly appear around 130 million years ago in the Cretaceous, and within another 10 million years they span 4 continents, because you have 2 or 3 in Asia. You got Suchomimus and Spinosaurus in Africa. Ichthyovenator was one of the ones in Asia, the other one's Siamosaurus, but it's known from only teeth. Baryonyx, Rupardovenator, Velobonovenatrix, Ceratosuchops, and one other that I'm forgetting are from Europe. Then you got Oxalea, Irritator, they're from South America. And there's potentially a... what's it called? There's potentially a couple back vertebrae known from Australia that could be a Spinosaurid, which if that is or isn't, it still potentially leaves North America and Australia as the only two continents that don't have Spinosaurids known for certain, which is very, very surprising, considering Spinosaurids, as far as we know, were only on the planet for a very short period of time. Around 130, 140 million years is the oldest one that we know of, until 90 odd million years ago. Of course, they could have persisted a little bit longer, and they definitely evolved earlier than that. But as a group, they weren't around that long, which is surprising because they were very diverse in the short time that they were around. They all had the same general build of kind of stocky legs with long, strong tails, short, powerful arms with huge hands and claws, long necks with elongated snouts. This is very interesting. Then we go to the ceratopsians, and stuff gets very weird, because there are two major groups of ceratopsians, or true ceratopsians anyway, which are the chasmosaurs, which are things like Triceratops, Chasmosaurus, and Pentaceratops. They're the ones that have generally 3 horns on their head, 2 brow horns, 1 nose horn, and then smaller frill horns with larger frills. Then you have the centrosaurines, which are Styracosaurus, Centrosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus, where they have 1 or less horns on their head, and then the frill is smaller but has their extravagant spikes or ornamentation. Styracosaurus is basically a textbook example of a centrosaurian. It's got 1 nose horn that's very long. It's got a large amount of big spikes on its crest. Pachyrhinosaurus is a bit of a weird centrosaur because it has a slightly bigger frill than most, with hooked horns, which, even though some centrosaurs, many centrosaurs itself have hooked frill horns, they're not as common, and generally they're more defining for chasmosaurines. But Pachyrhinosaurus is weird because of its lack of a known horn on its nose. Instead, it has a big bony boss on its nose, which isn't good for killing predators, but it's definitely good for fighting other herbivores. Because if you have a large, blunt object on your nose, it's not likely to break, especially with how reinforced it is. It can be used as a shock absorber for bashing their heads together, and it's less likely to cause fatal injury, which are all pros for the species. I just realized the server's restarting soon. Uh-oh. Oh well. Yeah, once it restarts, I'll probably end, because I've been doing for not too long, but not feeling all that great today. Not a big deal, but it just seems like a good time to stop if the server wants to restart them. But yeah, I consider there to be a third group of ceratopsians that has been named, but is generally considered a subgrouping of centrosaurs, and that is Nositoceratopsines, which is Nositoceratops, Avaceratops, and a couple others. And what defines Nosidoceratops is weird horns, small frills, huge nasal openings, and very blocky skulls generally. Nosidoceratops, which is the one that it was named for, it has outward curving. Its horns curve outward and then curve forward like a bull. And Nosidoceratops does have a very small frill on the back of its head, which is fairly nondescript, but it then has gigantic nasal openings. Nosidoceratopsians actually seem to have probably been mostly swamp dwellers too, which is a weird thing. So most of their fossils come from swamp environments, which is true of a lot of dinosaurs, but they seem to be especially tied to swamps for ceratopsians, which is interesting. Because in contrast, you have most centrosaurians that are generally not very close to swamps, and in general, it's surprising that a ceratopsian would be a major swamp inhabitant, because ceratopsians are generally not good swimmers. They have very heavy skulls, very stubby legs, and very short arms. And that's kind of what causes their... But that's probably what led to a lot of ceratopsian deaths. There are several bone beds in Canada that have hundreds of individuals just buried, and that was likely because of either a flash flood or because they were trying to cross a river, and the river, like, launched them out into the ocean, basically. A similar thing happened with Ankylosaurus too, a lot. But Ankylosaurus are very rarely preserved in groups because, aside from Pinacosaurus in China, no other ankylosaurs are known to be group animals, and Pinacosaurus is only known as a group animal because, as a baby, they would group together for safety. Yeah, the server's gonna restart soon, so I'm going to probably end it here. Thank you to the new followers, thank you to the people that showed up and came to watch and heard me rant. Thank you for tolerating me. I do have a Discord, but I'm gonna link in the chat. You wanna join it? I do stream, I stream on here multiple days a week. And I do have a YouTube channel as well. This will probably be up on YouTube. Thank you for coming to the stream once again. Take care, and most importantly, be kind.